Okay, so we're going to make liver pate, where we make liver into a delicious spread that you can put on anything really. It's so delicious. I will even just eat it by the spoonful sometimes, but you can also put it on top of cheese or crackers or veggie sticks like carrots or celery. I like to make fries out of root vegetables like sweet potatoes or yams or celery root, and use it as a dipping sauce for that too, so you can do all sorts of things with it. Liver is a nutrient powerhouse. It is full of all the B vitamins, a lot of essential minerals. It is the easiest way to get your full daily requirement of B vitamins and most minerals. But for some people, the flavor is a little bit strong just to eat on its own. So this is a great way to get it into your diet a little bit easier. So first thing we're going to do is fry up the plant component. So I'm going to use tallow to fry up all of this food in, but you could also use another healthy fat, especially something like ghee that has a high smoke point would be good as well. I'm not going to give specific amounts for this because this is going to depend on your preference. I actually like the flavor of liver, so I don't actually like to totally overpower it with different spices. But if the liver tastes of something you're trying to mask, you might want to put higher amounts of things like garlic, onions, and spices in. We're getting lots of good fat in there to fry this up in. And I'm going to do the veggies first just because when you fry up the liver, it can leave a little bit more of a residue on the pan. So I'm going to do that last. So I didn't chop this up super fine because we're actually going to be pureeing it. So I just wanted to chop it up enough to get a little bit of a cook on it, but we'll be mixing it up much finer once it's cooked. Okay, so I'm cooking this on medium-high just for a few minutes. I'm cooking it pretty hot, so it's cooking pretty fast, and you can just see it's starting to get a little bit browned. I don't want to overcook it because I want to keep a lot of the flavor and nutrients in, but it's starting to get a little wilty looking, a little browned. So we will put that into a bowl, set it aside. And now we're going to fry the liver. Now this is a whole cow's liver. So if you're using a different kind of liver, using chicken livers or lamb, you probably won't be making this much at once. But I like to make big batches. You don't have to slice it up all pretty because, again, we're going to puree it, so it doesn't matter. But just slice it into fairly thin strips. And you can cut out, there are some kind of membranes you can see in here that are a little tough and fatty. So I'm going to cut most of those out, and we're going to give them to our chickens. You can see this is kind of the connective tissue inside the liver that is just a little tough and won't necessarily be as tasty. Okay, so I put a little more tallow in there. It's nice and hot, still kind of on medium-ish. I'm just gonna put these slices of liver in there to fry. Now, how well you cook it is up to your personal preference too. I actually prefer liver to not be cooked all the way through. I like it a little bit rare. So I will be turning it probably a little quicker than some people would. The more you cook it, the more nutrients are going to cook out of it. It's so nutrient dense though that even if you boiled it, you would still be getting a lot of great vitamins. But yeah, it's just depending on your preference how long you cook it. You can see it's starting to get a little bit seared there. Some of these spices are a little thicker, so they're probably going to be a little more rare on the inside. But like I said, I actually prefer my pate that way personally. But you can slice them a little thinner or cook them a little longer if you want it to be cooked all the way through. Okay, so I fried up all the liver and I cut it up into maybe a little bigger than bite-sized pieces so it's easier to puree in the food processor. So I'm just gonna fill up the food processor, maybe about halfway or so with these liver chunks. Good for one batch. Then I'm gonna put a little bit of these garlic and onions in here. As I said before, I like the flavor of liver, so I don't put a ton of garlic and onion in. But you can certainly put a lot more on if you want more of that flavor. So then we need to put some kind of liquid to make it a little creamier. We have this raw milk that we get, so I'm going to use some of that. But you could also use heavy cream. You could also use melted ghee or butter. And yeah, so those are good options. And then you get to decide on your spices. So salt and pepper, I think, are pretty universally good choices. I'm gonna put plenty of salt in here. But also, you can put in any combination of herbs that you think would be tasty. So I really like rosemary and oregano. You could also do like parsley and thyme. I have these dried chives we harvested that I might use for a batch. So I kind of just like to play around with it and experiment. I think for this one I'm going to do parsley and thyme. And again, you just kind of have to experiment on amounts depending on your taste. Okay, let's put the lid on and grind this up. That's pretty good. Oh my gosh, look at that. I'm gonna try a little piece. Oh,
yeah,
so tasty.
Good.
Mhm. Okay, so we got it the flavor we like. So now we're going to spoon it into a jar. We're going to fill the jar up most of the way, leaving a little room at the top. Alright, I'm going to clean that off. And what you're going to do is you're going to put a layer of fat on the top. And with a layer of fat on the top, it's going to seal it so that it'll keep in the fridge for up to 3 months because bacteria can't get through a fat layer. So I like to use olive oil because I find that olive oil really complements the flavor of liver. But you could also melt ghee or melt tallow and use that too.
So
I just pour enough on top so that it forms a layer so that there's no liver poking out the top, and that seals it and keeps it safe in the fridge long term.